Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
We're expecting to see a tremendous storm surge that could be catastrophic.
This whole tree just crashed down.
Because that water's just not going to have anywhere to go.
It just needs to be you, whatever you have on, and your pets, and they need to be ready to go now.
Welcome back into our continuing coverage here at the Weather Channel of Hurricane Florence, which has made landfall. If you're just joining us, 7:15 Wrightsville Beach, a Category 1, winds at 90 miles an hour. That pressure 958 millibars, only the fourth lowest pressure on record here in Wilmington that we've ever had recorded. Also, the first hurricane to make landfall in the state since Arthur in 2014. Our wind gusts here in Wilmington, 105 miles an hour, second strongest ever recorded wind gust here. The only one higher than that was during Hurricane Helene, 135 mile per hour wind gusts. That was in 1958. We've had 4.5 inches of rain here. 400,000 are without power in North Carolina. Now we also have a breaking situation we've been following in New Bern in the overnight hours. We want to go to Gene Hodge, who is with Craven County, and talk about the rescues. Gene, we've heard so far over 200 people rescued. More than 100 are still trying to get rescued. Can you update our numbers and let us know the very latest with the rescue situation?
You've got the latest information that I've had available. We know we've got 100, little more than 100 calls out right now that we're trying to affect. We're working with 5 swiftwater rescue teams, and we actually have some volunteers that have also joined in the efforts to help.
So have you had any injuries that you've heard of with these rescues that have been ongoing?
None that we've heard. We're trying to get everybody out as quickly and as safely as we can, and to get them into shelters as quickly as possible.
So what's happening with the water right now? There were some reports that the water was dropping just a touch. Have you seen that or heard of anything with that?
From my visual evidence, what I've been able to see, because we've got some cameras in some strategic places, we have seen the water go down some. A lot of that has to do with the change, with the tidal change. We hit high tide around 11:30 last night, and we're looking to probably have I think high tide happens again in about another 3.5 hours.
So what do people, if they do need to be rescued, I know power's out for a lot of people, but if someone can text a loved one in the situation, who should they call? What do they need to know?
We need to call into our emergency services center here. The number is 252-636-6608. We've got dozens of toggle takers in here that can then put it on the log, and then we can start trying to work on getting them dispatched as quickly as possible.
How about curfews? Will there be a curfew in place?
Yeah, there is a curfew. Craven County has just extended their county-wide curfew from 8 a.m. Friday until 8 p.m. To 8 p.m. Friday, September 14th. So we've extended our curfew to go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Today, September 14th.
All right, well, we certainly appreciate you coming on this morning, and we'll continue to check back on with you guys, as this is a situation that started yesterday afternoon with the water coming up, and it's all about wind direction. And so they were getting that east wind, and that wind was just pushing ashore here. I mean, what's so remarkable is this tree that I'm standing in. We don't have enough slack here on our cord for me to get out of it, so I ended up standing in it. This tree went down before we got those 105 mile per hour wind gusts. It snapped in two. Okay, this is when we had winds gusting more in that 70 mile per hour range. So this is the type of damage that we are seeing around Wilmington. I'm in downtown Wilmington. We're, I would say, about 20 feet up from the Cape Fear River, where we have yet to see any flooding again, because where we are located, we have that north wind. Though we have seen, reports of 3 to 8 inches around. I don't know if the microphone could pick that up or not, but what you're hearing there is sheet metal. There's been some sheet metal flying around. You could hear it, and there's been, little debris. But if you don't board up your business, if you don't board up your home, a little piece like that can hit, and your window can be out, and then you get the rain in, and it's an utter complete mess. So that's why it is so important to always board up and always, evacuate when you're told to do so. But thankfully, the winds have calmed down a little bit, I will say, as of late. So let's bring in Dr. Postel. I'm going to pull up my phone so I can check out the radar. But Dr. Postel, I'm sure you can confirm, I'm guessing, is that eye slowing down? I got to pull the radar. Let's talk about what's been happening and what we're going to see, how much longer this is going to last.
Well, Steph, as we thought an hour ago what might happen, the eye has now, the center of circulation now started to move southwestward, parallel to the coast. Look at these last movements. Now, this is critical because it's going to keep areas in just inland in the very dangerous western eye wall with wind gusts we've seen at Wilmington already at 105 miles per hour. Perhaps some of the strongest winds have moved just south of Wilmington, but getting into Southport, of course, in areas everywhere in between. This is one of those situations that now we're starting to watch this eye wall take a path like that, or the eye, and that is paralleling the coast, and that will keep half of its circulation over water. So in some sense, it's not going to weaken as quickly as if it moved inland all, in a one fell swoop. This is now sort of paralleling the coast, keeping very heavy rain and very strong winds with many locations, even hundreds of miles from the center, essentially, or 100 miles or so. Let's go up the coast to show you what's happening in central North Carolina. We've got New Bern getting heavy rain. We've seen them already report as much as 8 to 12 inches of rain nearby, and we're gonna get a lot more than that, maybe another foot of rain. That's certainly possible in some of these locations where there is a flash flood emergency right now for many counties, including Carteret County in North Carolina. So the rain continues. The risk for tornadoes continues. Far removed from the center, there's the tornado watch that's out. And I want to give everybody a forecast here to show you what is likely to happen with Florence as we go down the line over the next couple of hours. So beginning this morning with Florence paralleling the coast, maybe just a little bit farther inland than what this is showing. But here's the point. 7:30 tonight, so basically 12 hours from now, we're still going to be dealing with the center of circulation and very damaging winds near that center in southern North Carolina still, 12 hours from now. And far removed from the center, northeast of Wilmington, over towards New Bern still, Jacksonville, maybe even Fayetteville just to the northwest, we're going to see very heavy rain and a strong onshore wind leading to significant storm surge flooding throughout the day, especially at the high tide cycles, which will be, again, later on this afternoon in some places, overnight tonight, and again tomorrow morning. Several high tide cycles, we're going to see significant inundation, even exacerbated. But check this out. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, still, maybe somewhere near Myrtle Beach will be the center of circulation. The winds will be weaker tomorrow than they are now, no doubt about that. But there will be damaging wind gusts, probably 50 to 75 miles per hour, still in some of those heaviest rain bands that move in off the coast. That's enough wind to bring down trees. Certainly any power poles that haven't been brought down may be weakened and still being brought down tomorrow morning. Very heavy rain continuing in many locations. Freshwater flooding continuing in many locations. And of course, storm surge inundation from the coast as well with that powerful onshore wind. This is going to be with us for 24 to 36 more hours at least as this thing continues to slow and almost to a crawl and really move basically southwestward parallel to the coast until maybe later on tomorrow afternoon, when then we think it'll start to get picked up and move toward the west, which unfortunately brings heavy rain farther to the west, interior North Carolina and South Carolina as well. We have a long way to go with this, and I'm getting word from my producer. All right, so let's talk about how much rain we think is yet to come. When we think about going out in time here, about another, say, 24 to 36 hours. This rainfall map goes through Tuesday, but the bulk of this will come down likely through the next, say, as I said, 12 to 36 hours. We're talking locations might get as much as 12 to 24 inches in some locations. And this does include Raleigh. It includes Charlotte, all the way as far west as Asheville. Charleston, South Carolina, you're going to get a lot of rain as well. So freshwater flooding is going to be a continued threat for days to come yet, with the slowed progress of Hurricane Florence as it continues to move inland. And again, the damaging wind threat cannot be underestimated because it is right now doing significant damage to the infrastructure all up and down the North Carolina coast. And if you're just tuning in, we were getting reports of wind gusts over 100 miles per hour in Wilmington very recently. They've now kind of slowed down a little bit, the winds in the region, but that's because the center of circulation is moving a little bit farther away now from Wilmington. Maybe some good news there that the worst of the wind is over, but it is getting worse in places like Southport, in Little River, in Whiteville. You can just go on down the line. Watch out, Myrtle Beach. Some of the edge of Hurricane Florence, bringing with it that heavy rain and damaging wind, is moving your way. So North Myrtle Beach, all the way down to Georgetown, we're going to see significant degradation in the weather conditions. And right now I'm going to send it over to Jen, who is in Myrtle Beach right now. Jen, take it away.
Yeah. All right, Greg. Thank you. Yeah. So we're continuing to get this offshore wind, Greg. This has been the story here. And I've been watching the landfall, Steph and Jim, and they're just getting in that eye wall, which has been very slow to move. And here's the thing, because Florence has been so slow to move, it's kept us on this western side for so long, and we're still in it, honestly, and getting this offshore wind, this wind that's actually pushing the water out. So while I have a second with you, I want to show you actually what's happening. First of all, just take a look out at this broad expanse of beach. It's larger than it was yesterday. The water is really getting pushed offshore by this just relentless wind coming out of the northwest. So we are on the left side of the hurricane. We've been in it actually with the gusty winds up over 40 miles per hour since about midnight last night. So you're thinking about 8 hours worth of this wind pushing the water offshore. You can see the sand getting kicked up by that as well. I find it kind of ironic, actually, considering that Florence got its start, as a tropical wave off of the Saharan desert, and now look at the sand getting kicked up. All right, so because of this offshore flow that we've had all night long, we were at low tide at about 5:30, and we were about a foot below the mean low water level. And you can see, just first of all, there's no waves. We're less than 90 miles, about 80 miles away from a Category 1 hurricane, and we've got no waves. And you look out over the ocean, and the reason is we've got this wind just pushing against the water. Any swells that have been coming in have actually gotten just pushed back and tipped over the other way. We occasionally have seen some whitecaps out there a couple of rows back, but they're getting pushed back the other way, back out toward the Atlantic Ocean. And honestly, there's been no movement of water forward. We're getting towards our next high tide at about noon today, a little before that. And so we'll watch to see what happens here. But as long as we have an offshore wind, surge is not going to be an issue yet in Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach, you need to have patience. The worst is yet to come. We have continuing coverage with Hurricane Florence right here on the Weather Channel. Live crews are out. 18 crews actually lined up for you. And of course, our experts back in the studio. All right, let's talk more to the National Hurricane Center about Florence. I'm going to bring in Ken Graham, the director